Welcome to the session 3 of Unit 1. We are still talking about the general principles of economics. But here in the session 3, we are talking about the concept of scarcity and choice. We believe that you have some understanding of what economics is all about and the various activities and areas studied in economics. What we want to do now is to introduce you to one basic problem which leads to the study of economics. We are going to look at the existence of scarcity, And this will be followed by an explanation of the concept of choice in economics and why choices are made. That's what we're going to talk about. As we said earlier, that economics is not a subject that can be learned by reading. We would thus end this session with practical examples of how the concept of scarcity and choice apply in our daily lives. We believe that by the end of the session, you should be able to explain the concept of scarcity in economics and give reasons why scarcity exists. And you should also be able to understand why choices are made. Also be able to explain how choices are made from various alternatives. Now let's go to the concept of scarcity. When we talk about scarcity, what comes to your mind? Is a question. When we talk about scarcity, what comes to your mind? All right. Now in this particular slide, you can see that I have explained scarcity to mean a condition of something being adequate, sufficient, or insufficient to meet demand. That is what scarcity simply means. When you open your English dictionary, that's what it's going to tell you. We are talking about a situation where certain resources or there is insufficient, things to meet the demand that you have. All economic questions actually arise from a single and inescapable fact. One cannot always get what one wants. You have to know that you cannot always get what you want. That is a fact that you should know. We live in a world of scarcity, and that is our wants always exceed the resources that which we have. Many a time, we realize that the things that we need, we don't have that amount of resources to be able to meet our needs. And resources in economics have been classified under four broad categories. Four broad categories. We have land, we have labor, we have entrepreneur, and we have capital. These are the four broad resources that we have in economics. So when we are talking about resources in economics, we are talking about land, we are talking about labor, we are talking about entrepreneur, we are talking about capital. And actually the problem of scarcity affects the three main economic agents. So we are talking about economic agents. We are talking about households, and households includes individuals. I am part of a household. You are also part of a household. So we are talking about you, the individuals, and the household. We are also talking about firms. So when we're talking about economic agents, we are talking about three things or three economic agents. We have the household, the firms, and the government. Hmm? The government. Now, I would like you to take a sheet of paper and write down 5 things you want to have now. So let's just write something down. What are the things you want to have now? Just write 5 things. Just take your time and write down 5 things that you want now. Please make sure you include economics textbook. Anyways, that is up to you. If you want, maybe there are some of you You do not really need economic textbook. This is okay for you to understand whatever that we are looking at. But if you include it, it will be okay. Okay, I believe you are done with your 5 things that which you want now. So check if you have what it takes. Check if you have what it takes to meet all those wants. Check if you have what it takes to have all the things, the 5 things you've written. Do you have what it takes to meet them, to have them? The idea of scarcity does not mean that means or resources are not available, but that they are available but not enough when compared to the human wants that are needed to be satisfied. So indeed, wants do not simply exceed resources that are limited. In contrast, resources are limited or finite. Resources are limited or finite. Resources in economics actually, as I said, have been classified under 4 broad categories. So they are limited. Land, labor, entrepreneur, capital they are all limited. You see, someone may want to start a business, but the capital to start a business may not be there. So the capital is limited. Mm. Let's look at an example. So a child wants 4 Ghana cedis can of soft drink. Maybe the child wants to buy Coca-Cola can. Biscuit that costs 2 Ghana cedis. 2 Ghana cedis will be used to buy the biscuit, and then 4 Ghana cedis will be used to buy the soft drink. It can be Fanta, it can be any other drink. But a child has only 5 cedis in her pocket. What comes to mind now? The child has wants. A child wants drink and biscuit, but the child has only 5 cedis. Now, when we combine the 4 cedis to the 2 cedis, the 4 plus 2, so 4 plus 2. What do we get? We say it is equal to 6 Ghana cedis. But a child has only 5 cedis. So it means that a child will need what? 1 Ghana cedis to top up this amount. Now, although there are wants, the resources to be able to meet these wants are limited. So the resources we are talking about the money that the child needs to be able to meet this want or her wants of canned drink and then biscuits are limited. The resources are limited. Now let's look at a student also wants to go to a party on Saturday night, but also wants to spend that same night catching up on late assignments. You are tossed between 2 choices. If you had the time, you could, combine the two, but you are limited. The resources is limited. So both experience scarcity. These two scenarios, this first one and the second one, both are all depicting scarcity. They are all depicting scarcity. In fact, everyone has some unsatisfied ones. No one is actually satisfied with his or her state of health and length of life. No one feels entirely secure, especially in this nuclear age, and no one has the time to enjoy all the travel, vacations, and art or music that we want to enjoy. That is the case. Firms' decisions on what to produce and in what quantities, the technologies to use, the quantities of each factor of production to enjoy or employ, and the arrangement of for rewarding the factors of production are all constrained by limited resources available to the firm, especially financial resources. Firms are thus faced with Many firms are thus faced with scarcity. The total amount that the government wants to spend on defense, health, education, welfare, and other services definitely actually exceed what it collects as taxes. The taxes that the government receives from us is not up to the demands that the government is supposed to meet. The government is supposed to put up, show that we have good health, we have good education, there is good welfare for us and other services. Yeah, I know that others may argue that there is money in the country and the money is being used to do other things. But although that is also there, but we are talking about taxes also being not enough to be able to meet the demands of the citizens of a country at the highest level of satisfaction. And actually, natural resources and human resources are in fact limited. They are in fact limited, and unlimited ones will always outstrip the resources available to satisfy them. The confrontation of unlimited ones with limited resources results in economic, scarcity, and that is the universal fact of scarcity that produces economic questions. We want to now talk about choice. We want to talk about choice. We want to talk about choice. We are faced with scarcity. People make choices, or we must make choices because we have unlimited what resources. There is a need for us to make choices, so we may have a lot of things where we have to choose out of them because of the limited resources we have. When we cannot have everything that we want, we have to choose among available alternatives. There are a lot of things we want, but we cannot have all of them because of the limited resources that we have. When that happens, there is a need for us to do what? Choose among available alternatives, right? Okay, so because scarcity forces us to choose, economics is sometimes called science of what? Choice. Keep note, science of choice. When we talk about economics being a science of choice, what we mean is that the science that explains the choice that people make and predict how changes in circumstances affect their choices. So I will repeat that explanation again. When we say economics is a science of choice, what we mean is it is the science that explains the choice that people make and predict how changes in circumstances affect their choices. To make a choice, we have to balance the benefits of having more of one thing against the cost of having less of something. So maybe I have to look at, okay, what do I benefit from having more of a Coca-Cola and having less of, say, Fanta, or having more of Coca-Cola and less of biscuits? That's what we are talking about. And balancing benefits against cost and doing the best within the limits of what is possible is what we call optimizing or economizing. When we say economizing, we are talking about making the best use of resources available. So you have to economize the resource that you have. And we also look at in order for us to be able to facilitate a choice, we have to or we need to have what is known as the scale of preference. Have you heard of the scale of preference before? Scale of preference. I believe in SHS you heard about it. So what is scale of preference? Here we say that scale of preference may be defined as a list of unsatisfied wants. A list of unsatisfied wants arranged in order of what? Priority. So or preference. So you arrange it as maybe number one, number two, number three, number four, number five, depending on the number of lists you have. You try to place or put them in order. Which one is most preferred to the other? That's what we call the scale of preference. There's a list. Is a list. Is a list, or let's say is a title. So title, you can title the sheet. Maybe you can have a maybe I'm going to the market. Normally women do that when they are going to markets. They have some little money on them. They will try to write everything they need when they go. They buy the most important things they need, and if they don't get the other things, they are okay. When they come, they can ask maybe their neighbor. You have some salt, you have some small Maggie cube that you can learn. Anyways, kindly take time to write 5 items that you want in order. What are the things you want right now? When I say that you should list 5 things, what are the things you're going to list? Um, Maybe you need a car, you need a house, just write anything down. And make sure you write them in order of priority. Right? Okay. Okay, great. So now let's look at table 1.1. When we go to the next slide, you'll see I have some beautiful table there that shows the scale of preference of Mr. Noche. Well, we are assuming that Mr. Noche has 5,000 Ghana cedis per month, or earns 5,000 Ghana cedis per month, and is going to share across his needs. And we are interested, or Mr. Anochi is looking at only buying a bed, mattress, a pair of shoes, watch for the month, and other things. So let's look at the table that I'm talking about. So Mr. Anochi wants to buy bed, mattress, shoes, wristwatch, radio set, and then TV set. This these ones are his wants, but he has only 5,000 Ghana cedis. But he has at least arranged them in order. How much can he, purchase? So in order, this plus this plus this plus this. From here, 800 plus 1,200 will give me 2,000, and then the 2,500 plus 500 will give me 3,000. So this part will sum up to what? 5,000. So it means that if Mr. Anochi goes out to buy with a 5,000, he has this man, he can only buy the bed, mattress, shoes, wristwatch, and then he will just let the radio set and TV set go into particularly, let's say, the following months. Once people have made a choice and have optimized, they actually cannot have more of everything. And to get more of one thing means having less of something else. Expressed in another way, in making choices, we face costs. Whatever we choose to do, we could always have chosen to do something else instead. This leads to our next important concept known as the opportunity cost, which will be described in session 4. See you in session 4. Thank you.